Hello everyone and welcome to a new video from Advanced Power Query series, video APQ14. In this video, I'm going to show you the easiest way to learn M-code functions. You will be surprised if I tell you that the easiest way is to use the Power Query editor. Actually, in today's video, we're going to see a very easy example, a very simple example. However, this example, we're going to use it in order to see how can Power Query editor teach us M-code functions. During the video, we're going to learn 9 M-code functions. 3 of them are related to text, the other 3 are related to date, and the final 3 are related to table, or you can call them table functions. Let's go right to Excel and have a look on the example for today. Very simple example today. On the left hand side we have one table containing only one column. This column contains dates. If you count number of dates or number of rows here, you will find that we have 31 rows. If you check the filter, you will find that we have dates in 2017 and 2018 distributed among around 15 months. The only requirement is to create a 2-column table using Power Query for sure. The first column containing the month year, Jan 17, Feb 17, and so on and so forth. And the other column contains the count of days in each and every month. If you check the total count, you will find that we have 21 days only. Why? Because in the output, we filtered out the weekends. In Arab world, the weekend is Friday and Saturday, not Saturday and Sunday. As I mentioned, it is very easy task. You can easily do it using the Power Query editor. However, we are going to use this example in order to learn 9 new M-code functions, and you're going to see how we can use the Power Query editor as a self-learning tool. Let's go directly to Power Query and try to go step by step in this example. I already sent the table into Power Query and I created 2 copies. If you look at the left hand side, you will find that I have 2 queries. First one called list of dates editor. List of dates is the name of the table, and editor meaning that in this query you are going to use the Power Query editor. The second one at the end you will find M-code, meaning that we are going to use the M-code functions in order to perform the same task. I'm going to work parallelly, meaning that I'm going to take one step inside the first query using the Power Query editor, and then I'm going to switch to the other query in order to see how we can perform the same task using the M-code functions. Let me start immediately. At the beginning, I need to add a new column here, and this column will contain the month and the year. Using Power Query editor, you have to do it on 3 steps. First step, you have to create a column for the month, and then a column for the year, and then you merge both columns. Let's start by the Power Query editor. I'm going to select the column, and from add column, date, and then month and name of month, and this will create a column containing the name of the month. If you remember the example, we used the abbreviation of the month, not the full month name, so I need to convert this into Jan, Feb, MAR, APR, and so on and so forth. In order to do so, I'm going to select the column month name and then transform and then extract and first characters. I'm going to type 3 and click on OK, and here you go. Now I have Jan, Feb, and so on and so forth. If you look at the right hand side, we added 2 steps. First one to insert the name, and the second one to extract the first characters. Let me focus on the first one in order to try to learn the M function that's used inside this step. If you look at the formula bar, you will find that it started with the table.add column. Let me not focus on this at the moment. I'm going to focus on this function. This function called Date.MonthName. The only argument inside this function is the date. So it is very straightforward. You use the function, you give the date, it returns the name of the month. One of the best features of M-code functions is the naming. If you look at the name, it is very straightforward. When you see the name of the function, it is very straightforward. It is representing what exactly this function is doing. You can easily expect the outcome of this function. So this is the first function that we are going to apply. Let me go to the second step, the extract first character, and also I'm going to focus on the function that used for this purpose, you will find that the function used was Text.Start, and then it has two arguments. First argument will be the text. You can see it here represented as an underscore because it is part of Table.Transform function. And then after the text you will have 3, and 3 is number of characters that you want to extract. This function is typically the left function in normal Excel worksheet. So we have to perform these two functions in order to reach the same stage that we reached so far in this query. So let me switch gear to the other query, and I'm going to start by adding a custom column. From Add Column ribbon, Custom Column, this will trigger the custom column window. I'm not going to change the name of the column for the moment, and let's try the first function that we learned, which is basically Date.MonthName. Then I'm going to open a bracket. The only requirement is date. We have only one column in the available columns. I'm going to select and double click, close the bracket and click on OK. And here you go, you have the month names January, February, March, April, and so on and so forth. The second thing that we need to do is to use the Text.Start in order to extract the first 3 characters. I'm going to do it inside the same custom column. No need to add another column. So I'm going to hit the gear icon, and before Date.MonthName, I'm going to hit 1 enter, and then I'm going to use Text.Start, open a bracket. At the end, I'm going to add a comma and then 3, and this will extract the first 3 characters of the name of the month. Close the bracket and hit enter, and here you go. I think so far so good. We learned 2 functions and we used them in order to do the same task. Let me go back, and this time I'm going to go more quicker. Let's try to extract the year. I'm going to select the date column once more, and then add column, date, year, and then year. And here you go, you have 2017. I need also to extract the last 2 characters from the year, or the last 2 numbers, because the year is a number. So I'm going once more to transform and then extract and last characters, and then 2. Click on OK. Now I have the year as text and I have only 2 numbers. Finally, I'm going to merge these 2 columns. Firstly, I'm going to select the month and then press and hold Control and then select the year. Right click and then merge columns. This will trigger the merge columns window. Separator will be custom and a dash, and then I'm going to give a name for this column. Let me call it month-year. Click OK, and I think so far so good. We have inserted year. Let's check the function. The function is very similar to the previous one, Date.Year, and the only parameter is date. And then we have extracted characters. Again, it is very similar. Last time we used Text.Start. This time it uses Text.End, but you need to look at the one inside. You will see that also it is using the Text.From. Why? Because at the beginning we had the year. If you check here, if you check the previous step, insert year, you have the year as 1 to 3, and 1 to 3 is a whole number. So at the beginning you need to convert this into text, and this is exactly what happened here using the Text.From. And after converting to text, you just take out the last 2 characters using the Text.End. And finally, we did the merge columns. So now we have 3 functions to use. First one will be Date.Year, and then we need to convert the year into text using Text.From. And finally, we're going to use Text.End in order to take the last 2 characters. I am going to switch to the M-code query, and then I'm going to edit inside the same step. No need to add more steps. So I'm going to hit the gear icon once more. And at the beginning, let's think how we can combine 2 texts together. You need to do something called concatenation. And the concatenation, you can do it in Power Query using the AND operator. So at the end, I'm going to add an AND, and then I'm going to continue, and this will combine the 2 strings together. So remember that I need a separator. So if I add double quote and then dash, now I already secured the separator. Let's check. I'm going to click on OK. A dash will be added to everything written in any of these texts. So I can just add another and continue. Let me hit the gear icon once more, and then and hit enter. At the beginning, let's try to find the year. And as we mentioned, it is very straightforward, very similar to Date.MonthName, but will be Date.Year. The only requirement is the date, the only column that we have. Double click and close the bracket. Let's try to click on OK right now and see what will happen. You will find an error. Why we have an error? Because you are trying to concatenate text with numbers, and this is not allowed. So let me hit the gear icon once more. Before Date.Year, I'm going to add one line, and then I'm going to use the function Text.From and close the bracket and click on OK. And now it is working. Jan-2017. I need to extract the last two characters, so I'm going to edit for the final time. Before Text.From, one enter, and then Text.End. Open the bracket at the end, comma and 2. I need only the last two characters. Close the bracket and hit enter, and here you go. I have exactly the same result. If you check back the query that we created using the Power Query Editor, you will see that almost we have the same result. In the second part of this video, we're going to complete the task, and we're going to learn 3 additional functions, which is basically Table.SelectRows, Table.Group, and Table.Count rows. Before moving forward with this example, let me change the name of the column. I'm going to hit the gear icon once more, and this time I'm going to call this column month-year, and then click on OK. I can also rename the step. Instead of adding custom, let me right click and rename. I'm going to give it a name like month_year, and then hit enter. Also, I can change data type. You can see here it is ABC123. I can go inside the formula bar, and just before the last bracket I can add a comma, and here I can add the data type. Let me type the following: type space and text. The check mark and all is set. Now we are ready to the next steps. I'm going back to the first query, list of dates editor. I'm going to perform a new action here using the Power Query Editor, and the very next step is to filter out the weekends. In order to do so, I need the beginning to get the name of the day in order to filter out Friday and Saturday. So while selecting the date column, I'm going to add column and then date, day, and name of day. Let me check the formula bar. Again, I have the table.add column. Let me just ignore this and look at the function that can give us the name of the day, which is basically Date.DayOfWeekName. It is also expected to have such a function because we have Date.month, Date.MonthName, Date.Year, and so on. So it is very expected to have something with this functionality. After the extraction of the name of the day, I can just use the filter button in order to check out Friday and also Saturday, and click on OK. And if we check now number of rows, it is 21 rows. This is much less than the 31 that we started with because we filtered out Friday and Saturday. Let's also check the formula bar to see how we can filter our table using the mcode functions. You will see that we have a new step called filtered rows, and if you check the formula bar, you will find that we have Table.SelectRows, and this is exactly the way we do the filtration. It starts with the name of the table, which is basically coming from the previous step, and each keyword is used whenever you need the function to perform an action for each and every line of a table. So this means that please go line by line and apply the condition. The condition, you can see here, it is 2 parts separated by and. I need the day name, which is basically the new column that we added, do not equal Friday and do not equal Saturday. And this is exactly what we are going to apply in the other query that is using the mcode functions. So I'm going to switch to the other query. Now I need to perform the filtration. I'm not going to add any new columns. I'm going to do directly the filtration. In order to do so, I need to add a custom step. So I'm going to use the fx. This will add a new step. You can see here custom 1, and it will reference the previous table. No problem at all. Before the month_year, the name of the previous step, I'm going to use Table.SelectRows. Open the bracket. First requirement is table. Table is coming from previous step, month_year, and then comma, the condition. Don't forget the each keyword, and then I'm going to apply the condition. The condition need to be based on the name of the day. So I need at the beginning to find the name of the day. So I'm going to use the function Date.DayOfWeekName. Open a bracket. I need to feed in a date, the date inside the column date. So I'm going to use the square bracket and type date. And then the output of this function need to be not equal to Friday. So less than and greater than, between double quote, I'm going to type Friday. Then I'm going to use and. Once more, I need to repeat the same condition. So I'm going to copy, Control C to copy, and then Control V to paste. And just I need to change Friday to be Saturday. Close the bracket for Table.SelectRows and then hit the check mark. And here you go, you have your 21 rows without adding any new columns. I just performed the filtration without adding any new columns. I think so far so good. Finally, let me rename this step. Right click and rename. Let me call it filter weekdays and enter. Now I'm going back to perform the final step. The final step is to summarize this table. I need only the month, year, and the count of the days. In order to do so, I'm going to use the group by. So I'm going to select month-year, right click, and then group by. The only change that we need to do is to add a name for the new column. The new column will be called number of days. The operation will remain count rows, and then click on OK. And here you go, you have your final result. Let's check also the formula bar in order to see how the Power Query editor managed to generate this code. The function used for grouping is Table.Group. That's fine. It requires a table, and the table is coming from the previous step, which is basically filtered rows. No problem at all. And then we need the key. Here is the key. What is the column that is going to be used as an aggregation column? In our case, it will be month-year. You can notice that it is provided inside a list. Why? Because you can have more than one column. And then the operation of the aggregation. In our case, the operation of the aggregation was counting the rows of the table, which is basically done through Table.RowCount. However, at the beginning, you need to provide a list inside list, because you can do more than one operation. So you have to provide a list inside a list. So you can see here is the outer curly brackets. This is the big list. Inside this list, we have a smaller list. And in our case, it is only one aggregation. That's why we have only one insider list. And for this list, you have to provide three things. At the beginning, the name of the new column. In our case, it is number of days. And then once more, the each, because each in this case will ask Power Query to perform this operation line by line. And then we use Table.RowCount, and the parameter is underscore, and underscore is representing all the lines inside the original table. And finally, we provide the data type, which is basically integer 64.type. This is the whole number type. Let's try to do the same inside the M code query. I'm going to switch, and then I'm going to add a new step, fx. I'm going to start by Table.Group. Open a bracket. First requirement is the table as table, which is basically the previous step, filtered weekdays, and then comma. I need to provide the key inside a list. So I'm going to open a curly bracket and then double quote. The name of the column is month-year, comma. In order to provide the aggregation column, I'm going to provide it in a list inside a list. So I'm going to open two curly brackets. Inside the inner list, I'm going to provide the name of the column, which is basically number of days, and then comma. The aggregation will be using the function Table.RowCount, and then open a bracket, underscore, and then comma. Finally, I need to provide the type, as we mentioned, integer 64.type, and finally close the bracket for Table.Group and hit the check mark. You will find that we have an error. Why? Because I forget to add the each before Table.RowCount. So I'm going to add the each keyword and hit the check mark once more. And here you go. We managed to get the same result. Let me rename the final step, rename, and let me call it number of days, and hit enter, and all is set. Let me count the number of steps that we used in each query. In the M code query, we have, after the source and change type, we have 1, 2, and 3 steps. If you compare this to the other one using the Power Query editor, you'll see that we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 steps. So you managed to reduce the number of the steps from 8 to only 3, and you managed to learn 9 new M code functions. I think that was very useful. 9 M code functions, and also we learned how we can use the Power Query editor to self-learn M-code functions. If you like the video, please like it, subscribe, and leave a comment. And also please share the video, and we'll catch you in the next video. And bye.